I have some haters on Twitter, obviously, and I just don't care what they think. And then other people will point out a subtweet. It's called subtweet.
Subtweeting, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with
And
that.
she's talking about you, and I say, you know what? You're trying to create drama, and I don't like you for that. I mean, I didn't want you to show me this. I mean, why? I mean,
Yeah.
what are these people doing? They're grabbing a chair and popcorn.
Yeah.
And then they
Let the
will
game-
go, yeah.
Let the games begin.
Yeah, chick fight.
Yeah.
No. I just don't spend any energy on that. So that's my way of trying to manage my energy, but I still have a long way to go.
It's very recognizable, everything that you're saying. I definitely went through a similar experience. With me, it was seeing how positive everyone started perceiving me when I was down and out, when I was really bad. I felt like everyone loved me. And then the minute I started climbing back up step by step, it gradually started changing again to the point now where I feel like I've gotten back to a pretty good position in life. I'm very happy with who I am and how my life is. And again, I have people being actually jealous of me. And I'm looking at them like, do you understand that I do not have bottom teeth? Like food comes back out when when I eat. Do you understand how hard it is for me or was to date people?
Yeah.
To go on dinner dates
But now with the mask, I mean...
This is true.
This is your time, man.
It is, but at the same time, I mean, I've gotten so used to it. It is nighttime. That's funny. But one thing, I follow you up until like 98%.
Yeah.
Very recognizable. And this is something that we've spoken about before in our sessions. I still very clearly had that ego. I do. I will never claim that I don't because I feel that I do. I'm trying to figure it out. If it stems from me still trying to prove something.
Yeah.
Something that really bothers me is that I almost died twice. And I had to work really hard to become a semi-normal person again. So I made a vow to myself that I would never do something I wouldn't like with my time. That's why I choose to be a YouTuber, a podcaster, whatever you want to call it. A wounded Viking. And I feel like, well, you know better than anyone, you're Belgian, how we are and how our parents look at those type of jobs that are not real jobs.
Yeah.
And I am bothered by a certain lack of respect from my direct environment.
So what are you trying to prove?
So I haven't figured that one out yet. What I do know is that the biggest thing for me is that I get a ton of respect from my community, from random people all the time. They look at me like an inspiration, overcomer, whatever, hero. And then in my direct environment, they're just looking at me like, when are you going to stop playing around and get a real job? You've been cancer-free for a couple of years. Now, that's never said, obviously. And maybe I'm seeing things that are not there. Well, not entirely. But that does bother me, how it's always your direct environment that gives you the least amount of respect. And it's always strangers that tend to put you on a pedestal. And with me, and that's what I was talking about, the ego part is very much still there. Like, I get a ton of positive reinforcement, but when I get a negative comment or someone trying to call me out, then, it's hard for me not to immediately respond and
I used to work for a media figure. She's called Goede Liekes. She's a politician.
Very famous person in Belgium.
Yeah, but she's what a woman. But she was my boss when I was still working for TV, and she said, "Never let them see you bleed." And that's what I try to do. So whenever something hurts me, especially on Twitter, I don't respond because then other people would see me bleed. So that's one thing. And then the other thing about being severely depressed is that you get treated by professionals like, in my case, a psychiatrist, and then I didn't know that, but you actually lay down on a couch, and then they ask, how are you doing? And you start talking about your mom or your dad. And it is a process at one point in your life. You have to go through this because nobody makes it out of childhood without traumas, obviously. And there's all sorts of stuff happening to children. And they don't really come out like, unharmed, literally or figuratively. And I think everyone in their life should, lay on the couch, proverbially, and get that over with. It is deadwood, you have to. It's unhealthy for you as a forest to have this undergrowth of deadwood. Because
yeah.
whenever there's a forest fire, this is the fact that there's deadwood is going to make it worse.
That's a great analogy. I like that.
Yeah, and I was able to forgive my parents, and it helps if you're a parent yourself, because these babies, when they come out, they don't come with a manual. You start being a parent by telling yourself, I'm going to do better than my parents.
I'm going to show them how it's done.
And then you fail in so many different ways.
Right.
And eventually I was really lucky, now, of course, we're confined together in one space, but as adults, they're just marvelous human beings. And then they literally say things like, they were right there with me when I was, descending through the 9 circles of hell all the way to Satan. And they were there with me, and then they would say, you know what, Mom, you had a shitty upbringing, but the cycle of physical violence and alcoholism, it stopped with you. They said, look at us. You never did that to us. You were a good parent, look at us. And I literally said stuff like that. Literally. And then I thought, well, you can only do your best, and hope for the best. But sometimes the nightmare ends. You can decide that you will not pass on any traumas that were inflicted upon you, because very often they were inflicted on the generation before you.
Yes.
And before you.
Yes.
So you have to work hard to just burn that wood off, and that's the hard part. Just make sure that the cycle of misery ends with you. Because pain, since I live with this, dead Siamese twin, I live with pain, and the fact that I was fighting the pain also took away all of my energy, and then you get in this hamster wheel of doom,
Yeah.
You fight against the pain, and then it gets worse because of stress levels, and then this is just dragging along with you stuff from the past doesn't really help. And at a certain point in time, I just decided to just leave it on the side of a road in a ditch and say, you know what? Anything that happened to me before 18 months ago, I'll just...
Yeah.
That's history. And memory is a weird thing too, because when you remember things that were done to you as a child, for example, you don't remember what happened in 1972. You remember the last time you thought about this. So you're a very unreliable witness, basically.
Yes, absolutely.
And reliving bad memories just weighs you down.
Yeah.
And that's the 18 months is I don't know, is 18 months. If it happened more than 18 months ago, I just water under the bridge, man. It's behind us.
I'm still in that process, and you're making me think a lot, because a big part of me doing this, a big part of me starting a YouTube channel in the first place, is because I've always said that I want my cancers to make sense. I got into video because I felt like I had a competitive advantage by the way I look. So I'm going to get someone's click merely off of the freak show factor. But at least I'll get that click, I'll get that view.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to say at the end of my life, my cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me, in a sense.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about that now because you're saying letting go. So for me, it's still a big part of my motivation. And sometimes I question that too. Am I supposed to be a YouTuber? Is this my calling, or am I doing it to prove a point? Also, because of the speech impediment that was a direct effect of my surgeries, I want to prove that, because what we're doing right now is basically radio.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I'm trying to run a marathon, but I had one leg amputated. So I want to prove a point, like I can still do it.
Yeah.
And it does sometimes creep into my mind, like, am I doing all of this just to prove a point? Because the main thing is, when you look the way I do, is most people's reaction would be, I'm going to stay inside. I don't want to be in the public eye. So what do? I'm going to throw myself out there and try to go viral and put myself on YouTube, right? So it's still something that's definitely ongoing with me, and it's definitely some food for thought.
I think you've already proven all these points. You made your point.
Do you need help making better decisions in your life? Are you lacking self-confidence and motivation to get things done? Hire me today and get a direct daily line of communication with me through video chat and audio messages. I operate on a week-to-week basis, so no long-term investment is required. 7 straight days of Viking advice will get you right on track. Email me at lorenz.dries@gmail.com and change your reality. I'm ready whenever you are. See you soon.